Okay. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for waiting and for agreeing to talk with me again as part of your media for Trail to
Terror. Of course. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, it was so awesome. And I have to say that the first thing that struck me was the song from Bobby Mackey. And can you talk a little about that? Like, did you have any input? Had you heard it? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was working in Atlanta on a movie set for a couple months as a PA, and on my way home to Minnesota, I drove back home. I was driving right through Kentucky, right through the city. Bobby Mackey's is at, so I reached out to them the day before, like, could I stop by and say hi? And they knew who I was from YouTube, and I had kind of a relationship with Bobby, a social media relationship. And so I went to Bobby Mackey's, did a tour, spent some time there, and then I went out to eat with Bobby. And at that point, I already had the idea for Trail to Terror, and I knew that was going to be the first thing I started when I got home. So that whole dinner at Applebee's with Bobby Mackey was just me telling him about this idea and what I think it could be, how cool it is, and just he was super supportive. And then I did right then and there just tell him, like, gosh, it'd be really cool to have you do maybe like the intro score for it as the song. And he was so down. And once I filmed the movie and had footage and kind of a better idea of what we had on our hands, I gave him a call and just told him, I'm calling it Trail to Terror. This is kind of what it is. It's a road trip with my friends. And just told my only input to him was, it'd be great if it was about maybe a road trip or a paranormal road trip. And I wanted some Johnny Cash vibes. And he pulled through. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. It turned out awesome. And I was wondering, I'm like, did you have, like, how did this happen? So this story is amazing to know, because that song leaps out, and I would say he totally nails the Johnny Cash vibe.
He does, I know. I was very shocked. He's actually so talented. Like, we talked on the phone. Within a day, he sent me his idea for the lyrics. And I was like, great, but I couldn't hear the song in my head, though. I could just read the lyrics. And I got the lyrics are there, but I still don't know the tone. And all of a sudden, within 2 days, he owns his own little recording studio, and so within 2 days, he had the song for me.
Holy cow, that happened fast.
Yeah, and I think it definitely adds just a great element to the doc, and for people who love the paranormal. I mean, they know Bobby Mackey is one of those legendary names. So for me, it was just so cool. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then my next question was going to be, because I don't know, I didn't look this up, shame on me, was if it's on iTunes, because I'm like, I wondered if after Trail to Terror premiered yesterday, did people buy that? I would, I mean. Yeah, I don't know if he's put it on iTunes or not, honestly. I know on YouTube, if you search Bobby Mackey Paranormal Trail, he's got it up there on YouTube for people to hear. One thing I did do was slow it down a little bit in the movie to give it a little more deeper voice. So the one online's a little faster, but yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, that's cool to know. Okay, that's a good. So at least if we want to go hear it and not, pull up, Discovery Plus or whatever, we can hear it that way. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then somebody else that made an appearance that we've never seen as part of Destination Fear, and I think I kind of know the answer because I did do research on him, and do I say it Coalin Smith?
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Coalin Smith.
So I know everybody is going to be, and I kind of think I know, but I'm curious if I'm right. Why didn't he become a fixture of the team?
Yeah, so mine and Coalin's history goes way back, but long story short, I was a production assistant for a couple of years, and I was on a movie set in Pittsburgh this time, and he showed up and basically became my boss. and he was on that set. And within a week, I just fell in love with the guy. He's just such a nice human being, so genuine. And but we bonded over the paranormal because I had made some Ghost Adventures videos on YouTube, and he had worked on Paranormal State for a whole season. And so we had that bond of paranormal, and I did another movie after that with him, and he was on it. And it's actually funny, after that movie, me and him took a little road trip to Panama City in Florida. And on that trip is when I came up with the idea for Trail of the Terror. And he is a production assistant at the time. Now he's an assistant director in LA and Atlanta. And so when we got the show, I reached out to him right away with the dates that we were trying to film. And he was pretty much booked for the whole year on movie sets. And at the end of the day, it kind of just came down to, like, you know, like, you could drop everything he's doing and come join us. But I think we both weighed the pros and cons, where it was like, man, like, he worked so hard. To become an assistant director in Hollywood is so hard. You have to put in so many hours, and it takes years and years and years of hard work and to get to that point. And so he finally did. And I think we both just realized, like, you know, as much as we'd love to have you on, what you're doing right now is so cool and so much bigger, and I can't stop now. But I am, now that the documentary is out there and Coalin is exposed to the paranormal, I think it'd be great to have him on if he ever did more episodes, to at least bring him on once or twice here and there and just have him guest star, and why not?
Oh, yeah, why not? And I bet a lot of people will be like, yeah, make that happen if you can. But like you pointed out, and I'm so glad I did do my research. He's worked on some humongous movies, so wow. Yeah,
he's a very humble person, too. He would never tell you that, but he works so hard, and he's got a huge future ahead of him. And that's kind of what I told him, too. I'm like, as awesome as it'd be to work with you again right now, like, you doing your route is it's gonna make it more possible that we'll work together on bigger things in the future, not just this show. And so me and him talk every week.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! So at least it's not like he made it, so to speak, and he's like, yeah, bye bye. But you've made it too.
No.
So. I mean,
yeah, and it's great. I mean, he's just really nice guy, and it's exciting to have him supporting it. And yeah, we talk every week, and I know me and him will be working on movies and other things in the future.
That's awesome. Okay, and I could jump right here to a question since you might kind of open the door, but I'm going to hold it till the end. But you kind of mentioned routes, and so now I'm going to ask about that in Trail to Terror, I didn't notice if it was up, just correct me, but like in Destination Fear, you often post mileages, you know, between one place and another, but I didn't notice that in Trail to Terror. So I wondered what route, I mean, I know which haunted stops you made, but do you always take the most direct, you know how like sometimes they'll say fastest or avoid tolls, or do you take the most direct, or how did you do that?
Yeah, you know, we actually did Trail of Terror in 5 days. And so it was really hard, really grueling. And
that's a lot of miles!
And, like, every day, you know, I would drop Chelsea and Tanner off at hotels, and then me and Coalin would go and shoot the B-roll and the interviews. And then we'd go back to the hotel, pick them up, and then do the full night. And so I was averaging, like, maybe a half hour of sleep a day.
Oh, my gosh.
So it really was down to, and Destination Fear, we planned pit stops, and there's a little bit of breaks between the days to travel and just come down off of the craziness of the last location. And with this, though, there was no planned pit stops, and the whole goal was 5 days, 5 nights. So we did take the fastest route. And it's funny, though, because one of the things I think I was upset about, but there's nothing I could have done, was some of the days, you know, we would leave the location at 7 in the morning and start heading to the next city, and it was impossible for me not to sleep. And so there were times where I would pass out in the RV, and wake up and we're only 45 minutes from the next city we're supposed to be at. And it was like, crap, let's roll. We need something for the daytime. We need to show what we did in the day. But pretty much everything that we didn't film was because we were sleeping or trying to sleep at least.
Holy cow, that is super intense because you guys covered a lot. I mapped it out, like the whole, from beginning. I'm like, that's a lot of miles, like over 1,200, I think.
It's funny too because the budget was $10,000. A lot of that came from me, and then Tana put some in, and some family members put some in, and friends. And it was like we could only afford 5 days. We could only afford to rent the RV for 5 days. We could only afford the gear that we were renting for 5 days. And so there really wasn't a choice for us. Like, this has to be a 5-day experiment.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's nothing like a budget and a deadline to draw the best out of people.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
So then another thing kind of along that route, or the route, whatever, you decided to go from Hillview to St. Albans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that Hillview, but you were in Pennsylvania, and then you ended up going, you dropped down to St. Albans and then then went back up to Penshurst, but it's really not, it was 6 hours versus 5 hours, but now that after seeing what happened with Kelsey at St. Albans, do you wish you went to Penshurst first and then St. Albans, and maybe she would have stayed the whole time, or what are your thoughts on that?
True. Yeah, I definitely wish she would have stayed the whole time, but I don't blame her, especially after watching the footage, and we were so new to it that, her fear tolerance had not built up at all. This is our first time. But I don't know if I would change it, though, just because I wanted the trip to be designed where it got worse as it went on. So the first 2 nights, little did anyone know, those are really our warm-up nights. And by night 3, 4, and 5, it's really where it picks up speed. And that's just out reading and what people say on the internet. But I know if I were to say now, Hillview Manor turned out to be one of, by far, the scariest nights, and that was night 3, and I wasn't ready for that. But I do like ending on Penshurst. It's just so massive and so epic that it was the perfect finale.
I have to agree.
Guys, I have to interrupt. We're going to have to wrap this up as soon as possible. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'll just ask one last question. If that's okay, is there going to be a Trail to Terror 2?
Trail to Terror 2. So I am working on something. I'll let you know right now. I haven't even pitched it to anyone. But I would love to do a documentary called Destination Fear, Return to Terror, where we do a road trip visiting several of the places from season 1 that affected us the most, where we would maybe hit 3 or 4 spots from season 1 that were the worst spots, but in one road trip. So that's an idea that's in my head right now.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I will let you go because I know you're busy, but thank you, Dakota.
Yeah, thank you so much.